And as you know by now, I picked topics that I think would be helpful. And some of them are complicated, complex, and not easy to implement unless you can deconstruct them and make some sense of them in a practical way. So today I'm going to be talking about the dampers of becomingness. What is it that makes it so difficult for us to, once we reach our goals, to not be able to sustain them? And you could call it self-sabotage, or you can call it all kinds of names, but here's really what I think is happening. We're either besting our culture editors, or we're defying them. And this is what I want to clarify here in a way to break through those dampers of becomingness. Culture editors, as you know from my work, are people that our cultures give them power in a context. A teacher in a classroom, parents at home, judge in a courtroom, doctors in hospitals, clergy in sacred places. And we are designed to pay much attention from day one, because our life and our survival depends on it at first. If you don't have that suckling reflex, you're not going to be able to go to the bottle or the breast. So those are from the beginning first reflexed and then learned. So what we're doing here is let's say hello to this guy over here. There you go. All right, had a little interruption there. Okay, so what we learn from our culture editors is what they show us, not so much what they tell us. So what they tell us is the intellectual part. That's the logical, intellectual, what we think we know about them. There's an implicit part that actually is the observation of what they do and how they live. That's the message that we get in the intimate language of love that we learn from them. So if you have a father who's a failure, a mother who's a liar, a mother who procrastinates, a father who abuses substance, what you're learning from them at the mind-body code level is this is the language of love that I need to learn, because it's not intellectual. Then what happens is that later you say, no, I'm not going to be a procrastinator, I'm not going to be an alcoholic, I'm not going to be a liar, or whatever it is. Or even with a positive, your father is very successful, your mother is very successful, and once you get there, something happens. Either the positive observation of a culture editor or the negative. Let's go to the positive first. The positive, you would think, well, I want to be like my dad. My dad is successful, so when I'm successful, I'm being like my dad. But what happens is that at that point, there's a defiance. A defiance that actually works against you. Because in that defiance, you're saying, I don't want to be like my dad. I want to be myself in the process of individuating. So therefore, what you do is you do something that works against you. And you begin to obstruct one way or another that success that you've been wanting for so long. The other one, which is a little bit more complicated, is the besting part. And that is that if you have on the negative side, you have a father who is a failure, for example, and you begin to succeed because you don't want to be like your father. And when you begin to succeed, since what you learned from your dad is that the intimate language of love is failure.
Time 16 minutes 6 seconds. Distance 1 mile. Pace 16 minutes 4 seconds per mile. Split pace 16 minutes 5 seconds per mile.
There's my map a walk, it always interrupts. But it's all right. Just give me a little break, just like the squirrel also gave me a little break. So what you learn in the failure father or the failure mother, whatever it is that is the ideal. Although intellectually you say, no, that's not what I want. But in the process of becomingness, when you get there, what happens is that if you exceed what they were able to do, you're besting them. And you can't best your culture editors. So then you go back to the mediocrity that you learned, or you go back to the dysfunction that you learned without knowing it. So then, with the positive, you want to not imitate because you want to be yourself. In the negative, you don't want to best because that is the ideal that you learned. Now, there are techniques that I teach on how to work with that, but I would say for now, do a contemplative meditation and pay attention to see what did I learn implicitly from my mother, my father, or whoever was significant in your life as you were growing up. What did I learn that they told me, and what did I learn that they existed, and go to what they existed, and see if when you get to a point that you're either besting them or that you're doing what they want you to do observationally, that's positive, how you might be rebelling against that, even though in both cases it works against you. So this is a bit complicated, but listen to this a few times, because this is a concept that you're not going to learn anywhere else, and it works very, very well in my workshops and when I was practicing with my patients, and when I work with people that now I don't call them patients because I don't want them to be patients looking for pathology, and they're not clients because I'm not an accountant. So what are they? I'm a teacher, so they are wellness students. That's what I work with, wellness students. So ask yourself when you do your contemplative search if what you're doing is objecting to the besting of something that you're doing better than they are, or if you're living up to their successes and their positives and you want to rebel. So it'll be just you, not because you're trying to imitate anybody. I will have more to say later on that, but for now, that's a chunk of information that needs to be processed. So allow yourself to listen to it and find out which is which, and listen to my other audios or my books or CDs and so forth. You can get a lot of the answers. So I'm just preparing you here to begin to explore. Enjoy, and I am back into my contemplative walk, enjoying myself and sharing what I find interesting with you. Goodbye.